Heather here at LARRS. Today we are talking about one of my favorite animals to work with at the rescue, green iguanas. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information about these guys, so definitely stay tuned and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I have my friend Athena here with me. Now, one of the cautions in working with iguanas is that they have razor sharp teeth, they have razor sharp claws, and they have a big long tail meant for whipping. And you can see she just moved her tail right out of my hand because she's not interested in me touching it. I've worked with a lot of iguanas over the years, and they can be challenging reptiles to work with. So another thing about these guys is that all of the scales on their skin are pointed backwards. So if you happen to be working with an iguana and you accidentally rub your arm the wrong way, you're going to get something that I like to call iguana rash. Your skin is just going to be a big laceration. Now, these guys can actually live for all sorts of different ages. It really depends on their habitat. It depends on how they're being taken care of in captivity. In the wild, these guys are expected to live anywhere between 3 and about 15 to 20 years. The reason for that is because these are prey animals. They're not predator animals. They're vegetarians. They like to live in trees, but one of the, your toenail is in my ear. Yep, we got to get that out of there. Oh, okay, so much better. Okay, so these guys live in trees. One of the main predators for these guys is birds. They're definitely prey animals. They're kind of towards the bottom of the food chain. The only defense that they have out in the wild is this long tail that is meant for whipping. Just kind of like that. When these guys are in captivity, they can actually live to be 30 plus years old if you're taking care of them correctly and giving them everything that they need. When you're setting up an iguana's enclosure, you are going to want to make sure that all of the conditions are right in their habitat so that they can be the healthiest possible. So that includes making sure that they're living in a humid enough environment. These guys are from very humid areas out in the wild. And then you are going to want to make sure that you're providing the proper amount of heat and the right UVB bulb. So like if you're going with a ZooMed ReptiSun bulb, which is one of the bulbs that we recommend, you're going to want to make sure that you go with a 5.0. The reason for that is because these guys are tree dwellers. So they're not out in the full sunshine all day. And you're going to want to make sure that you're giving them the proper UVB so that they don't get sunburned. You also want to make sure that the humidity is where it needs to be. Now, these guys do need about 70 to 80% humidity. Again, they're used to living in these warm, humid areas, and they need the humidity. That's going to help their skin and prevent against any infections and make sure that they are nice and hydrated. One of the things you want to keep in mind when you're working with iguanas is that you want to make sure that you are not on eye level. And that is something where, like, if you're on eye level or they're above you, then they can take that as wanting to square up and kind of a challenge, and they get really aggressive. Now, Athena is a girl, so she's going to be less aggressive than the male. The males actually tend to be super duper aggressive. One of the things that they absolutely love, and you can see Athena doing this though, she loves the little scritchies on her chin and on her sides, and she'll kind of just close her eyes. Now, if you guys are having problems with an aggressive iguana, I'm going to give you a little hint as to something that you can do to handle that aggressive iguana. In their eyes, they have an ocular nerve, and it is actually calming for them. So I learned this trick by a veterinarian that we work really closely with. What you're going to want to do to try to get them in this little trance and activate that ocular nerve that gets them a little bit calm you're going to want to just gently push in on each of the eye sockets, and you're not going to hurt them by doing this, but I will demonstrate. So I'm just very, very lightly pressing in on her eyes. Now, I'm not too concerned about Athena here because she is not an aggressive iguana. But you can see she is totally calm, totally relaxed now. Aren't you? I get the question a lot about what to do for an iguana diet. These guys actually need a really high calcium diet. Now, out in the wild, they forage for all the different types of food that they need. So they live in trees and they end up eating a lot of the leaves that are in trees. But when they're in captivity, you want to make sure that you're really handling their diet really, really well. So greens that are really, really high in calcium are going to be like your collard greens, your turnip greens, bok choy, things like that. These guys should not, however, have any kale. They should not have any spinach. You do want to avoid chard. A lot of places will say that you want to do Swiss chard for these guys. While it's really high in calcium, and just like kale and spinach, chard has extremely high oxalates. So what it tends to do when it metabolizes in the body of a reptile, it will leach calcium from the bones. And that is something that you don't want to happen because you need these guys to have really big, strong bones. They think they are invincible. They will try to jump from a 5-foot height or more. And a lot of times, if their bones aren't good, if you're not feeding them the right diet, they will end up injuring themselves. We make a habit of trimming the nails of iguanas at the rescue as often as possible so that when we're handling the iguanas, we're not getting scratched to pieces. Athena actually has her back foot on me right now, and we do need to trim her nails again. Her nails are very, very sharp, but she is digging in those back nails right into my wrist. So I know that I'm going to walk away from this with a couple of scratches from Athena. I want you to take a really close look at Athena's face here and kind of notice how that upper lip is kind of coming in at the back of her jaw. When she was dropped off with us, she actually had an abscess, and I thought that it was a piece of stuck shed, and I kind of just rubbed my finger along it, and the entire abscess came loose. So she is recovering from that. It will not affect her in the future at all. It won't affect her ability to eat food or do anything, and she thinks that I'm a tree right now, so she's gonna keep climbing, right? Yeah. So Athena is still a fairly small iguana. These guys will actually grow to be very large animals. When they're little like this, you want to make sure that you're feeding them every single day. When they get big, they do need to be eating every day unless you notice a weight problem. Then you're going to want to change the diet to every other day with these guys to make sure that they are not overweight. Because as we all know, being overweight leads to a lot of problems. It can lead to internal organ damage as well. In the wild, these guys have been known to eat bugs, but normally it's on accident because the bugs are on a leaf or a piece of flower that they want to eat. And so it's really not something that iguanas should have in their diet. So if you think you're feeding crickets to your iguana and doing them a favor, you're actually hurting their kidney and liver because they can't digest that much protein. These guys will actually grow to be about 4 feet in length. Now the males can get quite a bit bigger for green iguanas. The males will be about 6 feet in length. The first iguana that we took in, Mr. Spike, was actually approximately 6.5 feet in length. So he was a great big boy. Spiky. As green iguanas age, their color will change a little bit. So they'll start getting a lot more of the coppery sort of color, orangish sort of color as they get older. But you can see Athena's got some pretty nice little patterns here going on. She's a really, really gorgeous girl. She's got a little bit of the teal on her head. She's got a little bit of that lime green body, and she's got some really cool patterns on her side. Those will end up fading as she gets older, but she nevertheless is a really good looking girl. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's video, and as always, if you have any questions about green iguanas or any other animal that we have at the rescue, feel free to reach out to us via our Facebook page or by email, and I hope you guys have a super awesome day.